Hello, my name is Matt. Welcome to Unbearable 73. In this video, we'll go over the latest roundup of news for the current Dune franchise, and I'll give you some thoughts on some problematic reporting I found. No, I'm not simply going to steal everything in these articles. I'm just going to pull out some relevant details I think are important, and then I'll recommend for or against a full read of the article. So let's get started right away. On the screen, you'll see a web browser. I have links to all of these down below. If you so you can go to the source materials. So the first article up is as follows. From Collinder, an article entitled Denis Villeneuve says an adaptation of Dune Messiah might come after Dune Part 2, and this is written by Jack King. You know, it's funny. You can see how well a site's content edited are by paying attention to details. This article references as its source another Collider article written by Stephen Weintraub. I have comments on that one later. And why do I have it later? Well, the reason is because the source article was not posted until several days after the first one. So this article was posted on March 11th. The source article for it was posted on March 19th. So basically, this is a glorified advertisement that Jack King wrote as an actual article for the March 19th article. Jack King's his main point is that Denis Villeneuve does not consider Dune Part 2 to be a sequel, but, well, a Part 2, meaning more of the same film per se. You know, in the past, you might remember something like Back to the Future's 2 and 3 filming at the same time and seeming to flow into one another. I think that's what Denis Villeneuve means, so to speak. Like there's not a discrete separation between the events of the films. King does mention that Dune Part 1 did bring in millions of fans into the Dune fan base, which is good. The first bit of original news in this article is that the release date for Dune Part 2 is October 20th of 2023. So that means about 18 months from now. This article is not worth the full read. So let's go to the next one. From The Wrap, an article by Stephen Pond, we learned that Dune won an award for its sound. This article references what are called the MPSE Awards. MPSE stands for Motion Picture Sound Editors. This year was the 69th annual MPSE Golden Reel Awards. They were awarded on March 13th, which is this past Sunday. And the article reference goes over all the awards, but Dune specifically won the award for feature effects / Foley. So the recipients for Dune were the supervising sound editors Theo Green and Mark Mangini, the sound editor Dave Whitehead, the sound effects editors Phil Barry, Lee Gilmore, Greg Tenbosch. Sorry about that. I tend to want to say Bush, like the villain from Star Wars all the time. Robert Kello, Pierre Amura. The Foley editor was Chris Bonus, and the Foley artists were Andy Malcolm, Goro Koyama, and Sandra Fox. So what's a Foley? For you newer people who may be used to all computerized special effects, a Foley, in terms of sound effects, is the process of reproduction of everyday sound effects for films, TV shows, and whatnot in post-production, meaning after film is complete, and when they do it to enhance the audio experience over what was in the original filming. So for reference, in a movie where you see someone sneaking through the woods, all of a sudden they step on a twig and hear it snap. When they originally filmed that live, you don't hear the snap that loud. If you ever been in the wilderness and stepped on a twig and snapped it, it's really not as audible as it comes across in the movies. But they need you, the audience, to key on that, so they re-record it with a much more crisp sound that's louder and superimpose that over the original recording. So let's go to the next article. I recommend reading this whole article again if I didn't say that before. It goes over all the winners of the MPSE Awards, including some interesting stuff, so you can read it over. The next article here is, again, from Collider, and again, it's by Mr. Jack King. Denis Villeneuve talks about the status of Dune Part 2, an article from Jack King. We learned here that the screenplay is mostly finished. Oh, that's kind of ambiguous because, for all practical purposes, most directors will rewrite screenplays on the fly if they feel the need to. Villeneuve indicates that the final script approval is beyond just his own control, which I presume to mean that the producers want to have a final say in this as well. And I'm not too enthused about that, but Dune Part 1 worked out very well. Jack has some further comments that are not so much information specific and worth more of an expansive read. So again, I recommend this full article. Jack King did a much better job on this one. Okay. The next article up here is from Screentrant. This is Denis Villeneuve talks Dune decision that earned Hans Zimmer respect, an article by Alexander Harrison. This article is not so much about any information about the forthcoming Dune projects or the ones in the past, but it's centered on one detail. That the detail was Villeneuve's call to make bagpipes a signature of the culture of House Atreides. Hans Zimmer apparently loved this so much he gained some sort of new level of respect for the director. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by that, but that's what the comment is about. Though I urge you to read the article in full, has some nice in context details about the overall subject of music in Dune Part 1. So, next article up is also from Collider. This one is pretty big. This is the article I referenced before by Stephen Weintraub. Denis Villeneuve on Dune 10's Oscar nominations, while he'll never reach the deleted scenes in Dune Part 2. So it's an interview with Denis Villeneuve. I recommend reading the whole thing. There's some really nice stuff in it about Villeneuve's creative process and where he came from as how, in other words, how he evolved his style from when he was a young person wanting to get into directing films, including having done storyboarding on Dune when he was 13. So again, some really nice information in a full read. The highlights: Villeneuve feels relieved by the Oscar nominations, as he feels they affirm that those working on the film and who have invested financially in the process have at least been partially successful. He also considers the financial success of the film another sign that they've been partially successful. That means the audience is liked it as well as the industry. So yeah, I get the sense that Villeneuve, his sense is looking for check marks and saying, okay, I got this done, now he wants to the next thing. He does feel similar pressure that he was under with Part 1, which as he begins Part 2. So I take that to mean that Villeneuve is not like slacking off. He's going into Dune Part 2 and wants to make as good a film as he did for Part 1. He's not going to, just go through the motions because he hasn't made or anything now. I'm liking this Denis Villeneuve director more and more as I hear about him from this project. And this is probably the best by far of any of the articles I've found in the last few months of reporting on this for you guys. We also found that Denis Villeneuve does not like putting deleted scenes back into any movies he's done. He feels that in Dune's case, it would ruin the pacing to put even one scene back that he mentions in. I do hope he includes them on the like Ultra 4K Steelbox edition or whatever, so we can see some of them. Our next article is up. This is from Bleeding Cool. Denis Villeneuve talks Zendaya's increased role in Dune Part 2 in an article by Caitlin Booth. This is a short article, and it feels agenda-driven by the writer, which, again, is Caitlin Booth. Right? She focuses on Zendaya having an expanded role as Chani in Part 2. This, however, is a given. I've read the book, obviously, multiple times, because we're entering the part of Dune where Chani and Paul fall in love, get married, and basically move forward as the face of the Fremen and eventually the face of the galaxy. It's only natural that Chani would come to the forefront. And by the way, Dune is replete with strong characters who happen to be female, which the article writer might have known, but I'm speculating she never read the book. I don't recommend reading her article. I think this is the second time for an article with the writer that I've been not impressed with. And finally, I'm still annoyed that Zendaya's hair is not dyed the proper red color. Chani has red hair. I'm fine with Zendaya playing this role. I don't mind race, ethnicity changes in most cases, especially in a film like Dune, because, again, book spoilers here. The humans who exist at the time of Dune, which is 30,000 years in the future, basically, have none of the same ethnicity or races that we would be said to have today. Basically, robots took over humanity and for thousands of years bred them like pets to make humans totally different than they are now, just so you all know. And then the last article is from Bleeding Cool. This is it's Mondo Music Release of the Week, Dune from Hans Zimmer by Jeremy Conrad. Okay? So I recommend reading the whole article. There's some nice little bits of description of this product in there. Mondo's a record company that specializes in extremely high quality vinyl releases of whatever they're releasing. This last Wednesday they released sort of the Mondo edition on vinyl for the Dune 2021 score. They do their releases every Wednesday at noon Central Time, by the way, if you're interested in kind of getting in ahead of time. This special edition for Dune is a re-release of the Dune sketchbook. These tend to sell out best. If you're interested in a product like this, I would hop on it and see if they still have any by now. Otherwise, if you're interested in these sort of specialized vinyl products, every Wednesday at noon Central Time, pay attention to their website. I'll put a link to their website below as well. And my final thoughts. Not a lot of major news here other than the release date of Part 2 and the fact that Dune's been nominated for some Academy Awards. I'll discuss the Academy Awards nominations for Dune in the next article, in the next video. I want to get some resources and look up some stuff on the categories they're nominated for to see kind of how they might have done. But most of these articles I printed are worth reading. So, what news about the current Dune franchise are you most interested in? If you have any questions for me, comment down below. Like if you like, dislike if you dislike. Subscribe if you want to hear more from me. My name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73. Have a nice day. I am out of here.